There is a man in a room full of noise, and he hears none of it. Not because he's deaf, not because he doesn't care, but because he has mastered something most people will spend their entire lives searching for: the art of ignoring. This video will teach you exactly how he got there. 2,000 years ago, a man sat in the most powerful position on earth. He commanded armies. He governed an empire stretching from Scotland to Syria. Every person on the planet, it seemed, needed something from him. Every hour brought new problems, new crises, new voices demanding his attention. His name was Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. And yet in the pages of his private journal, a journal he never intended for anyone else to read, he wrote something that should stop you in your tracks. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Think about that. The most powerful man on earth, a man who literally had power over life and death, chose to focus his energy not on controlling the world around him, but on controlling what he paid attention to. He understood something that most of us have forgotten. That attention is the most valuable resource you own. More valuable than money, more valuable than time. Because everything else in your life flows from where you direct your attention. Now look at today. We live in the age of infinite noise. Social media engineered to hijack your focus. News designed to inflame your emotions. People around you, some of them people you love, draining your energy with problems, drama and chaos that was never yours to carry. And here's what nobody tells you. Every time you react, every single time, you give your attention to something that doesn't deserve it. You hand over a piece of yourself. You become less. The Stoics called this phenomenon living in chains, not physical chains, but the invisible chains of distraction, reaction, and emotional enslavement. And they developed a precise, battle-tested system to break those chains. Today we're going to walk through 7 of those techniques. Not vague philosophy, not motivational fluff. 7 specific, actionable methods that you can start applying today. But I want to warn you about something before we begin. These techniques are not for people who want an easy life. They are for people who want a meaningful one. They are for the person who is tired of being thrown around by the world, tired of reacting, tired of being triggered, tired of caring what everyone thinks. If that's you, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand why the most powerful skill you can develop in the 21st century is not productivity, not networking, not even intelligence. It is the art of ignoring. And before we go any further, if you found this channel because you're searching for something real, something that actually changes the way you think and live, hit that subscribe button. This community was built for exactly the person you're trying to become. Now let's begin. Technique number 1, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus was born a slave, not metaphorically, literally a slave. He owned nothing. He could control nothing about his external circumstances. His master once twisted his leg to the point of breaking it, reportedly just to demonstrate his power. And Epictetus looked at him calmly and said, "You are going to break it." When it snapped, he said, "Did I not tell you so?" No screaming, no begging, no rage, just clarity. How? Because Epictetus had already done something most people never do. He had drawn a clear, permanent line in his mind between 2 categories of things within his control and things outside of it. In his masterwork, the Enchiridion, he opens with these exact words: "Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion. In a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our own actions." Read that again. Body, reputation, command. These are not in your control. What is in your control? Your opinions, your choices, your responses, your values. Here's what makes this the foundation of everything else on this list. Most of the things you currently spend your energy on, other people's opinions of you. Whether your ex moved on, whether your colleague got the promotion, whether someone liked your post, none of it is in your control. And the Stoics would say this: spending energy on what you cannot control is not just inefficient. It is self-inflicted suffering. Let me give you a modern example. Imagine you send a message to someone, a friend, a business partner, a woman you're interested in, and they don't reply. Most people spiral. They replay the conversation in their head. They check the read receipts. They tell their friends. They lose sleep, days of mental energy, gone, on something they cannot control. A Stoic asks a different question. Not why didn't they reply, but what is actually mine to own here? Did I say what I meant clearly? That was mine. Did I reach out with honesty and respect? That was mine. What they choose to do with it? Not mine. Never was. Never will be. This is the first technique of mastering the art of ignoring. Draw the line. Every morning, and this is a practice, not a one-time insight. Every morning, look at what is occupying your mind and ask, is this mine to control? If yes, act on it. If no, release it. Not because you're passive, but because engaging with it is a waste of the only life you have. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. And here's the deeper truth. When you stop pouring energy into what you can't control, you discover something remarkable. You suddenly have enormous energy for what you can control. That's when things start to change. I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want you to think about this. What's the one thing you've been carrying in your head this week that you have absolutely no control over? Leave it in the comments. You might be surprised how many people are carrying the exact same weight. Technique number 2, the practice of selective indifference. There's a word the Stoics use that makes modern people deeply uncomfortable: apatheia. We translate it as apathy and immediately assume it means not caring about anything, being cold, being disconnected. That's completely wrong. Apatheia, in its original Greek, means something far more precise. Freedom from irrational, destructive passions. It doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you choose what is worth feeling strongly about. This is what I call selective indifference, and it is one of the most powerful and misunderstood concepts in all of Stoic philosophy. Think about the average day in your life. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you feel a surge of anger. A stranger on the internet leaves a nasty comment, you stew over it for an hour. A coworker takes credit for your idea in a meeting, your blood boils. Your phone dies at 11%, stress. Your team loses, your whole evening is ruined. Now I want you to honestly ask yourself, how many of those reactions truly were worth the energy? The Stoics were not saying, feel nothing. They were saying, reserve your emotional energy for things of actual moral weight. The death of a loved one, worthy of grief. A profound injustice, worthy of righteous anger. A true victory, as worthy of quiet pride. But the comment, the cut-off, the like that never came. Indifference, deliberately chosen, deliberately practiced. Seneca wrote in one of his letters, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most of the emotional storms you experience daily are not responses to real danger. They're responses to inconvenience, to ego, to the gap between how you thought the world would behave and how it actually did. Selective indifference is the practice of installing a filter between the external event and your internal reaction. Here's how you develop that filter. Step 1. The pause. Before you react to anything, traffic, an email, a text, a comment, pause. Even 1 second. Create a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap is your freedom. The Stoics called this prososche, attention to oneself. The practice of catching yourself before the reaction fires. Step 2. The weight test. Ask, will this matter in a year? In 5 years? At the end of my life? Most of what triggers you daily fails this test spectacularly. Step 3. The redirect. Once you've passed the weight test and decided this doesn't warrant your reaction, consciously redirect your attention to what does. Your work, your family, your purpose, your growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, confine yourself to the present. Not yesterday's insult, not tomorrow's fear, the present, this moment, this action, this person in front of you. That is worthy of your attention. Everything else? Selective indifference. Technique number 3, the inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius had a concept he returned to again and again. throughout his meditations. He called it the Inner Citadel, and it's one of the most powerful mental images in the history of human philosophy. Imagine your mind as a fortress. Not just any fortress, an ancient, magnificent citadel. Stone walls 10 feet thick, gates of iron, a keep at the center where the most important things are stored. On the outside of those walls, everything the world can throw at you. Criticism, failure, chaos, loss, other people's opinions, social media, the noise of the age. Inside, you, your values, your clarity, your sense of self. Now, most people live with the gates wide open. Every insult walks straight in and sets up camp. Every piece of bad news floods the halls. Every opinion of a stranger paints the walls. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And elsewhere, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the citadel principle. The world cannot destroy what is inside you unless you open the gates. Building your inner citadel is not a passive thing. It requires active construction, daily. And here are the 3 bricks you build it with. Brick 1, clarity of values. Know what you stand for. Write it down if you have to. A man who doesn't know his values is a man with no walls. He can be pushed in any direction by whoever is loudest. When you are clear on your values, honesty, integrity, growth, loyalty, whatever they are for you, insults cannot penetrate. Because you already know who you are, you have no need to defend it desperately. Brick 2, daily reflection. The Stoics were obsessive journal writers. Marcus Aurelius wrote every night. Seneca wrote letters to himself. They called this practice the examination of conscience. At the end of each day, what disturbed my citadel today? Did I let something in that I shouldn't have? What can I do better tomorrow? This daily audit strengthens your walls each night. Brick 3, voluntary hardship. This one surprises people. Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?' By voluntarily experiencing discomfort, fasting, cold, silence, solitude, you remind yourself what you are actually made of. You discover that the things you fear losing cannot touch the core of who you are. Your citadel becomes real because you've tested its walls. Here's the paradox of the inner citadel. The moment you stop needing the world's approval to feel secure, the world loses all power over you. You become, as the Stoics put it, truly free. Not free from circumstances, free within them. Technique number 4, Memento Mori, use death to sharpen your focus. This is the technique that makes most people uncomfortable, and it is precisely because of that discomfort that it works. Memento Mori, Latin, 2 words. Remember, you will die. In ancient Rome, when a general returned victorious from battle, riding through the streets, crowds cheering, flowers thrown at his feet, he was required to have a slave stand behind him in the chariot, and that slave had one job, to whisper in his ear again and again, "Memento Mori, memento mori." Remember, you will die, not as cruelty, not as punishment, as the most important reminder a man can receive. Because here's what the contemplation of death does. It immediately clarifies what deserves your attention. When you hold in your mind, genuinely, not abstractly, that this day might be your last, or that the person you're arguing with might not be here next year, or that the opinion you're obsessing over will be completely forgotten in a century. The trivial reveals itself as trivial, and the essential reveals itself as essential. Seneca, who knew death more intimately than most, having been ordered by Nero to take his own life, wrote these words, "Think on this, that you have within you something better and more divine than the things which cause the various passions and pull you about like a puppet. What is in my thoughts at this moment? Is it not death or pain or something of the kind?" Memento Mori is a focusing tool. It ignores, decisively and permanently, everything that is not worth the time of a man who knows he is mortal. Here is how to practice it. Every morning before you pick up your phone, before you open your email, before you start your day, take 60 seconds. Just 60 seconds. and think this day is a gift and it will end. What am I going to give my attention to today that is actually worthy of this one irreplaceable day? You will find, and this is not abstract, you will find that the things which would have consumed your energy yesterday suddenly lose their grip. The argument you were going to start, the grudge you were planning to hold, the scroll session you were about to lose an hour to, they shrink, because death is the great equalizer, the great clarifier, the most honest advisor you will ever have. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Perfection of character is this, to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense." That's the practice, not dramatic, not morbid, just honest. Technique number 5, Amor Fati, love your fate, ignore your complaints. There is a concept that sits at the very heart of Stoic philosophy, and when you truly understand it, it changes everything. Amor Fati, love of fate, not acceptance of fate, not tolerance of fate, love of it. Nietzsche, who deeply admired the Stoics, called it the formula for human greatness. Here's what it means in practice. Not only do you accept everything that happens to you, the losses, the betrayals, the failures, the humiliations, you actively choose to love them. You choose to see them not as obstacles, but as material. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." That is the Stoic vision of a man who has mastered Amor Fati. He doesn't complain about the cold. He uses it to toughen himself. He doesn't resent the betrayal. He uses it to understand human nature. He doesn't grieve the failure publicly. He uses it to rebuild stronger. Everything becomes fuel. Now here's where this connects to the art of ignoring. Amor Fati is the ultimate filter on complaint. The Stoics called complaining one of the greatest wastes of human energy. And I want you to think about why. When you complain about the weather, your circumstances, your past, your bad luck, what are you actually doing? You are directing your full attention towards something you cannot change. You are watering a weed. You are pouring your most valuable resource into a hole in the ground. Epictetus, who was, remember, an actual slave, wrote, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." A man who was owned, who had no legal rights, no possessions, no freedom of movement, told us to stop complaining about our circumstances. Think about that for a moment. Amor Fati in practice looks like this. Something goes wrong, and instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this making me capable of?" Instead of, "I can't believe I'm in this situation," you ask, "How do I use this?" This is not toxic positivity. This is not pretending the bad thing is actually good. It's something harder and truer and more powerful. It's refusing to let your circumstances narrate your story. When you practice Amor Fati, you ignore, at a deep, structural level, all the noise that comes with complaining. You stop rehearsing grievances. You stop carrying old pain as a badge. You stop waiting for the world to apologize to you. You take the raw material of your life, whatever it looks like, and you say, "This is what I have. Let's build something with it." Technique number 6, the view from above. Marcus Aurelius had a meditation practice that modern neuroscience is only just beginning to understand. He called it the view from above. Here's what he wrote. "Perfection of character is this, to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense." And in another passage, how many a Chrysippus, how many a Socrates, how many an Epictetus have time already swallowed up? He was asking himself, look how many brilliant, powerful, famous people have already vanished into history completely. Where is the urgency in your petty drama? The view from above is a visualization technique, and it is genuinely one of the most effective tools for dissolving the mental noise that consumes us. Here's how it works. Imagine you are floating above your own life. Look down. There you are, in whatever situation is currently consuming your attention. An argument, a setback, a worry about what someone thinks of you. Now rise higher. Look at your block, your neighborhood, your city. How small does your problem look from here? Rise higher. Your country, your continent, the whole planet hanging in space. And now think of time, not just space, time. The Stoics loved this. They would say, picture this moment in 10 years, in 100 years, in 1,000. Who will remember this argument? Who will remember this slight? Who will remember this failure in the span of human history? This is not nihilism. This is not the argument that nothing matters. It is precisely the opposite. When you see how small and brief most of your daily dramas are, you are freed to focus on what actually matters. Your relationships, your character, your work that has real meaning, your contribution to the people around you. The view from above doesn't make life meaningless. It makes the right things visible. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." He begins each day by zooming out, by putting humanity in perspective, by refusing to be surprised or consumed by human imperfection. Try this tonight. Before you sleep, whatever frustrated you today, take 2 minutes and apply the view from above. Rise above it. Expand the timeline. Ask, in the full sweep of my life, in the full sweep of human history, what is the right size of this problem? Then sleep. And tomorrow, meet the world from that larger perspective. Technique number 7, the discipline of silence. We've arrived at the 7th technique, and I want to be honest with you. It may be the most important one, and also the most countercultural, in a world that rewards the loudest voice, in an age where every opinion is performed and every reaction is broadcast. In a culture that mistakes constant talking for depth, the Stoics practice disciplined silence. This is not introversion. This is not shyness. This is a deliberate philosophical choice. Epictetus wrote, "Keep silence for the most part and speak only when you must, and then briefly. And, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Don't wish to be thought to know anything, and even if you appear to be somebody important to some people, distrust yourself." The discipline of silence operates on multiple levels as an ignoring technique. Level 1, filtering your speech. The Stoics were ruthless about what they allowed themselves to say out loud. Gossip, ignored. Complaint, forbidden. Boasting, beneath them. Idle chatter, waste. Every word spoken pulls your attention outward. Every opinion broadcast makes you hostage to the response. The man who speaks less thinks more, observes more, understands more. He also preserves a kind of inner dignity that constant talking erodes. Level 2, filtering your consumption. What are you allowing into your mind every day? Seneca wrote, "Retire into yourself as much as possible. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those who you are capable of improving." This is a radical filter on media, on conversation, on whose opinions you consume. Not every podcast is worth your ears. Not every influencer is worth your time. Not every argument online is worth your engagement. Silence is also the refusal to consume noise dressed as content. Level 3, solitude as practice. Marcus Aurelius, who was surrounded by people every moment of his day, wrote extensively about his hunger for solitude, not to escape responsibility, but to return to himself. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The practice here is simple and deeply uncomfortable for modern people. Spend time daily in real silence, not silence with a podcast, not silence between scrolls, real silence. Walk without music, sit without your phone, drive without the radio. Let your own mind surface. Many people are afraid of this, and that fear is data that it tells you how loudly the world has colonized your attention. The discipline of silence reclaims that territory. Here's what the Stoics knew. A man who is comfortable in silence cannot be easily manipulated by noise. A man who guards his speech cannot be easily destabilized by drama. A man who controls what enters his mind controls, ultimately, who he becomes. Silence is not emptiness. It is the space in which wisdom can actually hear itself. We've covered a lot of ground together today. 7 techniques. 7 tools forged in the fires of ancient philosophy and tested against the hardest circumstances human beings have ever faced. Let's bring them together one final time. 1. The dichotomy of control. Draw the line between what is yours and what isn't. Engage only with what is yours. 2. Selective indifference. Install the filter. Reserve your emotional energy for what has genuine moral weight. 3. The inner citadel. Build the fortress of your values and your character. Guard the gates. 4. Memento Mori. Let the awareness of death clarify what is worth your one irreplaceable day. 5. Amor Fati. Love your fate. Take what comes and make it material. Stop watering the weeds of complaint. 6. The view from above. Zoom out. Let cosmic perspective dissolve your daily dramas. 7. The discipline of silence. Guard your speech, your consumption, your solitude. Reclaim your mind. These techniques are not a weekend project. They are a life's work. Marcus Aurelius practiced them for decades and still wrote reminders to himself in his journal, still fought the same internal battles, still struggled with the same human weaknesses we all face. But he kept returning, every day, to the practice. And that is the difference between the man who is thrown around by the world and the man who moves through it, with deliberate, quiet power. Seneca wrote, "It is not that I'm brave, it is that I know what is worth fearing." And I would add, it is not that the Stoic doesn't care, it is that he knows, with precision and with practice, what is worth caring about. That knowledge is the art of ignoring, and it is an art available to every single one of us. If this video changed the way you're going to approach your day tomorrow, if one of these 7 techniques landed and you're going to carry it with you, leave a comment below and tell me which one. Was it the inner citadel? The dichotomy of control? Amor Fati? Tell me. This community is built on real conversation, and I read every comment. And if you're not subscribed yet, this channel exists to bring you the wisdom of the Stoics, distilled and made practical for the life you're actually living. Subscribe and share this with one person who needs to hear it today. Until next time, remain the obstacle, become the way.